Okay, so it's time for another edition of Hotcha Zimzam. I just posted my top 10 movies of 2009, but I have a few other less regular awards to give out for the movies of 2009. So, movie you should see, even if you don't like zombie movies, goes to Zombieland, which is just a great movie, period, whether you're into that or not. Just hilarious stuff from beginning to end. And unsung actor of the year related to that would be Jesse Eisenberg, who was great in Zombieland and Adventureland, and will probably be great in Facebookland, which is what I'm calling The Social Network, which is a dumb title for it might be a really cool movie, given that it's Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher. But he's going to play the head of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, head of Facebook. So, unsung performance of the year, as in we should be talking about these guys as Oscar leaders, but they're not being talked about at all. They're not even going to get nominated. Sam Rockwell in Moon, amazing performance, and it's kind of spoilery to tell you just why it's so good. You should just see the movie unspoiled and see how good he is. Peter Capaldi in The Loop, amazing. It's the kind of performance that once you watch it, it's a shoe-in, best supporting actor kind of role. Like, it's the kind of thing that if more people had seen the movie, I think there would be no question he'd be one of the first people mentioned for that. Amazing performance. Not to mention he was the bomb in Torchwood, Children of Earth, which you should definitely see. That's a whole nother post just about how good that is. Most underrated performances. Not that people aren't really talking about these performances, but they aren't really thinking of them as great performances, and they really should be. And that would be Sharlto Copley in District 9. Amazing performance if you think about it. I mean, first off, never mind the fact the guy's never acted before, but his performance makes that movie. That movie doesn't work unless you believe him. He carries the film. I mean, it's a great plot, and it's a great story and concept and executed well, but unless he is firing on all four cylinders, it's just not going to happen. So I thought that was amazing and very underrated. David Rash, you remember Sledgehammer? He's also in The Loop, and he basically channels John Michael Higgins. The whole movie I was wondering, wait, who is that? Is that really David Rash? I'm not sure. Again, see the movie, great film, but his performance, just a great supporting performance. Movies that made me wish I was doing more than top 10, like maybe top 12 or top 13. Adventureland, just great. Like, if someone asks me what's a good coming of age story, like what is that? What does that even mean? I will show them that movie. It's like the platonic, ideal of a coming of age story. Like, that's how you do it. Great performance, great film. Moon, which I just mentioned, again, sort of great sci-fi in that classic vein of, the isolated man and the mystery. And again, I don't want to talk about it too much because it's one of those movies you really have to go in unspoiled and just let it happen to you. And then In the Loop, which I've been mentioning a lot too. Again, I sort of saw it after I finished my top 10, and it's kind of hard to decide. Do you really reevaluate everything from the start, or in any case, no question, it's a great film, absolutely hilarious satire, one of the best movies ever made about the Iraq War without actually being made about the Iraq War. But really just fantastic all around. Basically, if you can sort of imagine The Office taking place at Downing Street and at State Department, that's sort of what you get. But just amazing work. Best last line of a film goes to Fanboys, and again, it'd be too spoilery to say why, but there's a question you're asking yourself the entire time you're watching the film, and at the end of the movie, they finally ask it. It's very satisfying. It's a fun movie, too. Best opening credits, Precious. I really like what they did. Basically, it's what the credits would look like if the person writing them were Precious herself. In other words, someone who was illiterate. And it's sort of translated that way. They sort of write it one way and then they translate it into what it would be. Great movie overall, but the opening credits are very memorable. Most powerful shot in a movie this year, and probably one of the most powerful shots I've seen, period. Certainly the most powerful shot in a documentary, and that would be The Cove. Those of you who've seen the film probably know what I'm talking about. At the end of the movie, we see the footage they've been trying to get the entire film, which is footage of this dolphin slaughter that takes place in Japan at this one cove, and the Japanese fishermen have been trying to keep it secret. The Japanese fishing conglomerates have been trying to keep it secret, but they finally get the footage. And the shot that opens the footage, again, it's better if you don't know exactly what it is before you see it, but when you see it, you'll know what I mean, and it's just absolutely haunting. You'll never forget it, and it may be one of the most powerful shots I've ever seen. Definitely see the movie, but you'll remember that shot. Best action sequence? It's from a movie John Woo made. that finally came out in the States last year called Red Cliff. And by the way, this was the movie that John Woo should have made like 10 years ago. But whatever, he finally made it. And it's him getting back to form and being a great director again. And there's an action sequence in there where our heroes are trying to, this is ancient Chinese warlord stuff. And they're trying to defend their territory, and they use something called the tortoise formation. And they'll talk about it, a lot in the movie. You'll see it coming. And when it happens, it's this extended battle sequence, but one of the most amazing. The strategy, it's as much about seeing the battle sequence as it is about the strategy they use, and it's just amazing to watch it unfold. There's actually a little clip of it I'll link to that's on Vimeo or something right now. So definitely see that. Best animated movie you probably didn't see, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And the reason I say you probably didn't see it is because most of my friends don't go in for any animated films except Pixar movies, which is usually a good policy, but every now and then, other people besides Pixar can make good animated films, and Sony knocked it out of the park with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I mean, it's just a great satire that sort of very cleverly, very subversively sort of satirizes consumer culture. You should definitely check it out. And you can tell how clever it is because Mr. T plays a character in the movie, and what they do with his hair is just them just being clever. So it's even on that level, just little touches like that. When they're paying that much attention, the rest of it's probably good. In any case, definitely check that out. Hilarious film. Speaking of satire, best satires in the loop, of course, and World's Greatest Dad, which reminded me a lot of Election, in that it sort of understands that one of the great ways to satire culture is to set your movie in high school. High school is just ripe for that kind of satire, and this is the first movie since Election that I think really just nails it. Great performance by Robin Williams. Great performance by, I'm blanking on his name right now, but it's the kid from, Alexis Vega? The kid from Spy Kids. He's grown up now. Very adult role, but he plays Robin Williams' son, and again, one of those movies you really shouldn't know the plot too much, but when what happens, and what comes from that is a great little satire. So those are all the extra awards held in a separate ceremony the night before, the top 10, and stay tuned for my top 20 of the aughts. Thanks.
Yeah, man, we're going to do this again.